Hi guys, so I want to do a video about what it's like living in Spain as a foreigner. I've wanted to do a video about this for a while, but there's a lot to talk about, so I've been sort of compiling a list of different things. I really like living here. It's cheaper than England, a lot cheaper. It's obviously the weather is good. I mean, it depends on how you look at it. You know, for some people it's too hot. Sometimes in the summer it is a bit crazy, but I like it. There's a lot of stuff to do outdoors, and anything that's... Most of the things that I don't like here are kind of the same or worse, arguably, in Britain. So generally, yeah, I really like it. There's some things I don't like, but overall it's great. Yeah, the rent is much lower. I mean, it depends obviously where you are in England or where you are, you know, in the world. But I lived in Bristol, Brighton and London, and all of those places were a hell of a lot more expensive than even like a place in the city centre in Valencia. So when I was living in that place before, if you've seen any of my earlier videos where I had like the washing machine behind me and shit, and I was in a studio apartment that was in the centre, and it was obviously, you could see it was a crap apartment, but it was my own apartment, it was private, and it was 500 a month, bills included, and that was bang in the centre in like the nicest part of town. In fact, I got it down to 430 after a while, so very, very cheap. Even a terrible studio apartment in London, if it was in a good location, I don't even know, like more than £2,000 a month, I think, and I don't know if that would include bills. And obviously there's like more job opportunities in London than there are in Valencia, but still, it's the rent is generally very reasonable here. And if you go to small towns, for example, you can rent like houses in some places for like 250, 300 euros as well. This is in euros a month. So that's brilliant. The living cost in general is very low. Food, everything, bills, you know, I mean, you don't need to pay a lot for bills really, because you don't use like heating or anything really. Well, I guess in the winter it's pretty cold, but yeah, that's not a big expenditure. And yeah, the apartments, they do actually get very cold in the winter because they're all designed for the summer. The floors are all tiled, they're not insulated, they're not built for cold weather because it's only cold for a couple of months. So in the winter it's fucking freezing indoors, like really, really cold. And most people use like portable heaters and stuff, but they cost a fortune, so I don't really use them. I just like wear more clothes and stuff. So I'm trying not to keep looking at my list here. Yeah, so the living cost is amazing, and yeah, pretty much everything is cheap or cheaper. I mean, again, it depends on where you've been living. To some people, I guess it's expensive. They've retained a lot of their kind of culture here, which is nice. There's a fairly strong religious element. I mean, that's kind of dying now, I think, a bit. It's sort of generationally, as it kind of is in most places. I think Spain has held on a little bit. Italy has like really held on to all of that stuff, and that's cool. But even there, you get the feeling that in a few generations it's just going to become more and more like Germany and France and England, and kind of lose its culture a bit, which is sad. But yeah, here they've retained a lot of stuff, and I don't know, they have a strong sense of culture, I guess, that you don't have in England in most places, because it's so like multicultural, and that has its advantages, but also it does mean like, I don't know, there's not much, I wouldn't say there's much in the way of like British culture. I know maybe people from outsiders looking in think there is. There's like the royal family and like tea and shit, but there's not like a strong cultural heritage, and there's not a kind of there's not much pride, and national pride in Britain has very negative associations. sometimes rightly so and sometimes unfairly so. And it tends to be something that's only sort of displayed by certain people and is generally looked down upon, which is a shame, I think. It's, you know, I don't know. And yeah, in some places in England, you don't really, like, you just feel like I don't know, you don't feel like you're in England, basically. Here you get a strong sense that you're in Spain. And it's just certain things like, I don't know, the way people socialize and congregate, certain aspects of the lifestyle, the timings of doing things, the siestas, tapas bars, like standing and eating and like socializing in certain very specific ways, meeting at specific types of places on specific days. There's just a lifestyle. It's hard to explain. There's like a lifestyle that they seem to enjoy and take pride in, which is cool. And I know it's a bit rich for me as living here as a foreigner, like sort of talking about, you know, how it's a shame in other places that they've sort of lost their identity. But I try to kind of keep my head down in that regard, to be honest. And certainly not be like a sore thumb, you know, because I don't think it's very nice to do that when you're like a visitor in a country. But yeah, anyway, yeah, so there's all that, and yeah, pretty strong food culture. I wouldn't say I'm blown away by the food, to be honest. I don't think the food is like incredible. It's good. Certainly their cuisine is better than English cuisine. A lot better. I wouldn't compare it to like, you know, Italian or Indian or, you know, even for example, most of my favorite food here is like the American food, like South American food and Latin American food. I think that's nicer and more interesting. The Spanish food is good though. It's decent. And more importantly, the produce is really, really good. Like the fruit and vegetables are amazing. Really cheap. The meat is really good quality. Like in England, if you buy chicken breasts and you start frying them, they just start shrinking. And that was one of the first things I noticed here, is even if you buy like supermarket chicken breasts, they're big and they just retain their size because they're actually big. They're not pumped full of like water. They don't settle for bad quality meat here. They're not into it, and you can't sell them it, you know, like they're quite discerning about produce and meat in general, which is really good. I don't know, you know, obviously like still you have all sorts of kind of hidden issues on production lines of like basically everything nowadays. You don't really know what is happening to your food exactly, but I know that in terms of the quality, insofar as like how it tastes and how it is to cook with, is really, really good and much, much better than England. So that's really good if you like cooking and stuff. And if you want to eat healthily, it's much easier to eat healthily here. Well, it's easier in a sense. If you're willing to cook, it's much easier to eat healthily, basically. Not that they necessarily always do. As a lot of carbs, a lot of people just eat. One thing I found crazy, they have these tortillas. And here, a tortilla, I guess if you're in England, a tortilla is like a flat bread like that you use for making fajitas and stuff. Here, a tortilla generally is like, it's made of potatoes, and it's like a kind of, it's like a sort of circle. It's like about this thick, and it's a circle, and it's like a kind of bake or cake, kind of, not a cake, I don't know, it's made out of potato basically, and you slice it and you have like a slice of it, and this big thick thing of like kind of just reconstituted potato. It's alright, it's quite nice, it's alright to have one in the fridge just when you need a snack, but they love it. And they eat, this is just pure potato, right? That's like the only ingredient in this thing is potato, and they put it inside a sandwich, which, like, I see people doing that and I just think that is insane. That just looks absolutely, to me that's like having like a donut inside a bun or something. It's just so weird. But they have a lot of carbs, like huge amount of carbs, a lot of bread, a lot of baked goods. The quality of the baked goods are not that is not that good. I mean, for example, if you go to like France or something, all the bakeries like they bake everything really nicely. Generally, it's always pretty good, and it's like cooked for the right amount of time. A lot of burned stuff here, I've noticed. They really sort of burn their baked items. A lot of very dark brown, kind of blackish baked goods. But in general, yeah, pastries, cakes, bread, very popular. Potatoes, very popular. And a lot of the meat that's used in food that you buy, like prepared food that you buy, is very flavorful because it's like sobrasada and stuff like that. So it's like spiced sausages and things like that, really condensed kind of flavor. So there's not actually that much meat a lot of the time because it's designed to be very flavorful. Like flavorful. Sorry. One of the most popular dishes. Now I don't eat pork and beef, so it's kind of annoying because there's so much good like pork and beef here. But there's this dish called fabada, which is so fucking nice. If you eat stuff like this, I can't recommend it enough. It's so good. It's really simple. It's just beans, like white beans, pinto beans, and then sausage. Like you don't need much at all. A small amount of good quality sausage, like spiced sausage, not the kind of sausages you'd have in England, but like very like dense, spiced kind of like red sausage, and then usually like another kind of sausage, and just a few pieces of that, and that's pretty much it. And some fatty meat fried in with the beans, and just like sort of like, well, not reduced down. I don't know. I'm not really into like I like cooking, but I don't really know much about it. But yeah, basically it's like. You can easily find recipes for it online. When I've made it in the past, I found that the less I seasoned it, generally the better. Like I'd put a little bit of seasoning on for the beans, but the point is that the meat seasons everything, and that's kind of how a lot of food is done here. Like anchovies, for example. It would be like a big piece of bread with like a small amount of anchovies, but the anchovies have so much flavour that you get the flavour, but you are eating a lot of carbs. You're eating like a fucking giant baguette with like a small amount of meat or something in it, but it's nice. And fabada, yeah, oh man, it's so fucking nice, especially if you like. I always found it a really good meal for like after exercise and stuff. And it's really like cheap and easy, and you can like portion it up easily and leave it in the thing and microwave it. And they do tinned ones, even the tinned ones. The tinned ones are fucking incredible. I really miss those. I used to have it every day. Oh man, it's so nice, so fucking nice. So yeah, some of that stuff is really good, and if you go to like a food market or whatever, there'll always be good stuff. Like it's definitely there's a certain level of kind of quality, I don't think it's up there with the best of the best, but it's definitely above average. And the food in most restaurants is generally decent quality, and you can get like good Italian and stuff like that here. There's a lot of Italian people here, although I don't know. I mean, I lived in Valencia, and now I live in a small town like outside of Valencia in the Valencian province. So I don't know about all of Spain. I know that in Valencia there's a lot of Italian people, basically. Yeah. So let me consult my list here, because I forgot to talk about something: the food, the produce, the yeah. Oh yeah. So the other thing about the food, though, the snacks are not very good. That is the thing I miss the most about England, is the snacks, like the crisps and stuff. And I try not to eat like a lot of sweets and chocolates and stuff, but that said, if you want those in England, you don't realise like how lucky you are. And probably it's the same in America to some degree, although obviously the crisps in America are a bit shit compared to ours. But the snacks in England are just incredible. I realised this in hindsight. Like the variety of crisps you get in England is unbelievable. It's and all these different new flavours and new, and it's very easy to get like good ready meals. You can go to a supermarket. In a way, it's a kind of a double-edged sword. It's like a good thing because you can just go into like Lidl or Marks and Spencer's or whatever. I fucking miss Marks and Spencer's, man, and buy meals that are really nice, Like, it'll be like a nice like Mexican dish or an Indian thing or something, and it's already made and you don't really have to do anything, and it's already like delicious. You can't get that here really. Like, there's some, but they don't really sell that. Pretty much non-existent, and when they do, it's usually not very good. You can't really buy ready meals. So yeah, depending on how you look at it, that's kind of a good thing. But it does mean, in reality, sometimes you're busy and you're not gonna cook a proper meal. So you end up sometimes just being a bit stuck for what to do for dinner and eating the same things a lot. So yeah, on balance, it works out really, because it means you're having good, like it's harder in England if you want to cook to like get good quality ingredients, and it's quite expensive, and so you end up kind of forced to eat a lot of crap, or not forced to, but you just end up doing so. So yeah, I don't know. Yeah, it's good and bad in that way. But the snacks here, oh my god, the crisps, it's like they're unbelievably bad. Sorry, I'm a little bit fucking exhausted. It's the morning. I still haven't had my tea. Yeah, the crisps are fucking awful. Like, you go to England and it's like prawn cocktail, Worcester sauce, salt and vinegar. These new flavours, some of those are fucking horrible, to be fair, the New Walkers ones. But there's all these new ones, and there's like, jalapeno and cream cheese, all these crazy flavours, and so many different brands, and they're so nice. And then you come here and it's just like every flavour is the same. It's like salty, tomatoey, barbecuey, like dark red seasoning. Seriously, every fucking flavour is the same. It's gross, man. Like, once in a while you'll see a bag of salt and vinegar. They're not very strong. Or they just have like one brand. They sometimes have Lay's. It's Walkers, basically. They have Lay's. And that is it. That is all you'll get. The main supermarket here, Mercadona, they do have an own brand salt and vinegar, and it's okay, but it's just one, and you just, I don't know, you get a bit sick of eating the same thing over and over again, and it's only in a big bag. They don't sell small bags of crisps. They're all big bags. Their crisp culture is all fucked up, to be honest. They sell like these really long, tall bags of crisps. They're clear. They're like see-through, and it comes in this cardboard like outer packaging. It's fucking bonkers. They don't understand crisps at all. It's really weird. And they have just the flavors are really bad. Like it's a disaster, to be honest. They need a crisp overhaul. Their crisps are fucking horrible. And in general, snacks like that are not very good. But I mean, yeah, it's kind of a good thing as well, because you don't see a lot of fat kids here, for example. You don't see a lot of, you see some fat people, but they tend to be older. They tend to be like, in their 50s. You don't see fat children. I don't remember. I remember once here, not long ago, seeing a fat child, like a really fat child, and it was like, oh God, it's kind of alarming. I mean, how does that happen? You have to... you control their food. You know what I'm saying? Kids like 8 and they're fat. It's like, what happened? I'm not just talking chubby, but like, big. Yeah, so that you don't see that here, which is good. In general, people seem a lot healthier. Well, in certain ways, I don't know. Yeah, like younger people, they're all quite kind of active. Even if they don't exercise, they seem quite active and like healthy and outdoors, and like most of the men here are in like reasonable shape. Like, they exercise, they do some level of like cardio, and I think it seems more just a kind of accepted part of life, just to keep kind of somewhat healthy and fit, like when you're younger. Some people you see when they get older, they're just like fuck it, I'm just gonna sit in a cafe and eat pastries all day and smoke and be fat, and fair play, why not? You've earned it at that point. But yeah, so I think it's good, in a way. Yeah, some of the things that I miss are like, I can see how they can be quite poisonous to society, like just this constant. And I noticed in the UK, for example, when you get near the till, they always have incredible deals on these like amazing looking sweets. You know how they always come up with like new things where it's like Oreos mixed with like fucking caramel bars mixed with Maltesers or something, and it's like now it's in a cake, and it's always like it's like for £1 for a bag, and it's right by the till. So because they know like you're not going to choose to buy it, it's not on your shopping list, but if you get there you might make an impulsive decision at the last minute because it looks so fucking nice, and it usually is. So they I don't know, it's good in a way they don't have all that shit, but they have a lot of sugar-free stuff as well. I've noticed like a lot of sugar-free ice creams and sweets and stuff, which is cool. I try not to eat those now because they fuck up your gut, like, and they really I used to, when we first got here, me and my girlfriend, we were eating like so many of them, and we lived in a shared place, and we used to like we used to fart a lot basically from eating all these because we just couldn't handle it. We just get so excited, and it was so cheap to drink alcohol as well that we would just go mad. We would get like carried away, and would go to the shop and be like, sugar-free chocolate, sugar-free biscuits, sugar-free ice creams, beers for like 20p each, get these sugar-free fizzy sweets, sugar-free drinks and shit. And we would get seriously gassy, like it was for a relatively short period because we realised like it's not acceptable. You just can't fart this much. It's just not acceptable. It's in society in general. It's just wrong, and it can't be healthy. But for a while, it was a bit of an addiction. You know, we'd go to the supermarket, and we'd have decided previously like we can't buy any more of these fucking sugar-free sweets. You know, this is embarrassing. Like we're just like farting all the time. And then we'd be like, oh, fuck it, let's just have like one packet and shit. And it just kept escalating. And there was a time we were laying in bed, we were just like farting and shit. And we're like, man, and it doesn't smell it, there's just gas, you know, which is a sign that you shouldn't be eating these artificial sweeteners, clearly. Like your body's not meant to have that reaction to anything, not least a chemical. We were thinking like the walls are so thin, we can hear everything. They're just listening to us fart right now. They literally heard us farting all night. It was that bad, like that they were probably just like, these two are seriously fucked up. Like they have some sort of health problem. And so yeah, we had to cut that out a bit. And I try not to eat that stuff anymore. I don't think it's healthy. But they have a lot of that anyway, and it's good. I mean, once in a while I have it. And if you have the dairy-based ones, like the ice cream, for example, they do these ice cream sandwiches. Oh man, they're so fucking good. These sugar-free ice cream sandwiches. They're so refreshing. It's like 2 biscuits with ice cream in between, and it's very low in sugar, and unbelievably low in sugar. And because of the dairy, that kind of mitigates some of the kind of effect of the artificial sweeteners, the kind of the effect it has on your gut. I don't know. Yeah, one sec, let me pause this because my computer keeps fucking up. Sorry, I get all these jumps in the recording if I do it for too long, so I have to keep stopping. So alcohol is dirt cheap. Alcohol costs nothing. You can get decent wine for like €1, beers for like 20p. You can get a cold beer from a corner shop for like 50p. Well, 50 cents. I just call it p still because I'm an idiot. It's all so cheap, and they don't have a problem with it. They don't have a problem with alcohol. People are so much more moderate, and I do not miss that about the UK, man. Like, people take it too fucking far there, and it's not even like enjoyable. Like, people just ruin their lives. People just destroy their lives with alcohol in England. It's really bad, and it's kind of nihilistic. It's like self-harm. It's like a self-hating alcohol culture where people are like at work all week and they like don't talk to their colleagues much, and they feel weird and they feel like shit from the weekend before, and they're like socially uncomfortable, and then they go out and it's just like, it's like, Jesus, like, it's just too much. It's just, you don't need to, and it's not a sign of happiness. You know, people will be like, oh, you're boring or whatever, like, you know, for this sort of perspective on it, for having this perspective on it, but it's not, man. Like I like being intoxicated, you know, but it's just, that's beyond, that goes beyond doing it because it's pleasurable, and there's some other kind of motivation there, and it's just out of control in England, in my opinion. The alcohol culture is horrible, and it's very mindless, because it's like, even with drugs as well, it's like people don't even care what they're mixing. Like, they don't even care if it feels nice. They just care that they're having a lot. They're not even like, oh, is this like actually, I don't want to be like a nerd about it, but is this actually like a kind of synergistic combo? Is this actually going to feel good? Am I going to have a... They're just like, fuck it. Like, and that is the point of it, is like, fuck it. You know, it's why I say it's nihilistic. It's like, it's just like a form of self-harm. It's weird. And that doesn't really exist here, which is really cool. Like, even in the centre, it was noisy when I lived in the centre. It was really annoying, especially when I was going for a breakup and I was like really fucking depressed and lonely and shit. And it was like, and I'd be trying to sleep at like 2 a.m, 3 a.m, and people were like, you know, having all this fun outside. I was like, what are you doing? What are you doing? Having fun? Leave me alone. Leave me in peace. I don't know why I lived in the centre. I was a fucking idiot. There was no reason for me to live there. I mean, well, it's hard to explain. I kind of needed to, but yeah, it was ridiculous, really. I was sort of like the Grinch of the city centre. A weird fucking whatever. Yeah. And people, you know, people be out late drinking and stuff, and you know, some people probably doing a bit of coke or whatever, but it's just not the same. You could just see it if you just walk around a city centre at night. Like, you don't feel unsafe, feel completely... You could see, for example, and this is very common, you'll see like young people drinking on a night out, and then you'll see like parents with their kids walking around really late. That's another thing, is like kids are out at like midnight, like babies, literally. like toddlers and babies are out at midnight. And you're like, all right, you getting on it, are you? Yeah. They're just walking around past, like, and it's not, I don't know, it's hard to explain. Like, there's like a fuggishness in England, like on nights out, and a kind of just like, it's like the nightlife is run by like kind of pricks, and people feel uncomfortable. Like, people who are normal people feel uncomfortable in city centres and stuff. It's not like that here at all. I can't speak for every city, obviously, but like, yeah, the impression I get is it's not like that at all. It's like relatively normal groups of young people, and just kind of like just hanging out and having fun, really, like having a few drinks and shit. It's not, I don't know, it's not all intense and weird and shit. It's fucking gross, man. You go out, you know, late at night in the UK, and it's just, it's horrible. So that's really cool. I don't drink anymore. I quit drinking quite soon after I moved here, but for a brief period, and we were quite unhappy when we first got here, and we were drinking heavily, and that was, you know, yeah, easy to do. We brought a little taste of the UK fucking loutishness with us, but we stamped that out quickly because it's awful. Let me consult my list here. The scenery, the scenery is beautiful in most of the places I've been. There's a lot of mountains, beaches if you like those. I don't like the beach. It was cool though. I used to live near the beach in Valencia, in a place called Cabanyal, which is an interesting place. That's the only place I lived actually that was like it's not rough compared to London. It's not rough compared to most cities in England, like in a bad part of that city in England, but it's rough compared to the rest of the city centre of Valencia. And there were quite a few times there where it felt a bit like, you know, I don't know, yeah, a bit of a sort of bad vibe. Certain things happened. We had like someone trying to, it's a really creepy incident, to be honest. It was horrible. We still don't know what was happening, but a fucking weirdo in our building was like trying to get in at like 4 a.m. and once tried to come in when I was out, like right after I left, and Tara was on her own, and bad vibe, man, horrible. And the other weird stuff was happening in that building that was fucked up. And the area was fine, really, but like you could go and just buy like coke in the street if you wanted to, you know, like, and easily. And if you and I went to get weed there, and people said if you go to this certain street, like there's just weed dealers everywhere. And I was walking around, and I just kept walking for ages, and then I had an expression like I was like, you know, searching kind of, and it's good because in England, I think I had a vibe a bit like I was a cop. Like people a few times accused me of being one, but here I think they know I'm not because I don't look like a local, which is good. So they could see me like kind of looking around and shit. And this lady was like from down the street and like called me over. She was this big fat lady, like looked about 40, and and I went in and I went into this room. I think I talked about this before. I don't remember when or where, but I went in and it was her, I don't know if it was her son or her boyfriend. It was really hard to tell. He looked too old to be her son, but like way too good looking and young to be her boyfriend. And there was like nothing. It was him and her and the kids in this house. In this area in Cabanillas, it's all houses. Well, no, there are flats, but this part of it, it's all houses. And they're really beautiful, weird, interesting houses. A lot of them are very dilapidated. I think they used to be like populated by all the fishermen who don't live there anymore. So a lot of them, they're just abandoned and dilapidated, but they're really cool. Like every house looks different. So it's a really interesting place in that regard. And I'm surprised it hasn't been more like kind of like gentrified or whatever, because it's, it seems like the sort of place that if they had that kind of culture here would become very like kind of hip. I think it is becoming a little bit that, but there's not really enough of a sort of hip contingent here for that to happen. And there was nothing in there. There's the little kids, him and this woman, and then like literally the biggest TV I've ever seen in my life. I've never seen a TV this big. It was like, I don't know how many inches. I mean like more than 80, I think. It was fucking huge. It was like enormous. And then the place was like a shithole, but just a giant TV. And he took he had the weed, and I was like, I asked him for like a 20 bag, and he just like took it out of his hoodie pocket. And it was like just had fluff on it and shit, and just like gave me some weed. And I was like, can I have a bit more? And he was like, just like gave me a bit more. And I was like, all right, cheers. And yeah, there'd be people around there in the street with like teardrop tattoos, like trying to sell you coke and stuff, and you don't really see that in the rest of the city. So it's a bit different there, but anyway, yeah. So I live near the beach there, and that was cool, like because I could run on the beach, which was amazing. So if you like running on the beach is the fucking best thing in the world. I don't really like running. I think on concrete is quite bad for you in the long term, bad for your joints and shit. It's fine if you have good technique. I think it's fine, you know, but for me, it's not good. So living near the beach there in that regard was really cool. So there's the beach in terms of scenery, a lot of beaches. And Valencia has decent beaches. Mountains, a lot of mountains. The mountains are really nice. I fucking love being in the mountains. Near them, live near them here. That's really cool. That's brilliant. And the architecture, brilliant. Like, it wasn't all, in a lot of European countries, everything was fucking flattened in the wars, you know, but not so here. Most of it is still here. Beautiful architecture in Valencia. Valencia is fucking stunning. Like, just beautiful, absolutely beautiful. And it's touristy. Of course it's going to be, like any city like that is going to have a lot of tourists, but it's not too bad. It's not too touristy. And it's just beautiful, to be honest. Yeah, I take it for granted, and I mean, I don't live there anymore, but I kind of just got used to it. But fucking stunning. Like, the architecture is incredible. The shape of the city, the layout and everything, and just all of it, amazing. And a nice atmosphere. Again, I mean, yeah, it's like, it's touristy, and you get a bit like, it depends on your personality, I guess, because I don't always like being around a lot of people. So it was nice to leave the city, but really nice vibe there. So much nicer, in my opinion, than the vibe of any city in England that I've been to. Yeah, the one thing I do find though is like, if you're in like France, for example, and I would say even kind of the same about the sort of greener areas of England, is you don't see a lot of just like kind of shithole, like empty spaces. If you drive, for example, through Spain, you're on like the motorway, you just see a lot of just like barren, kind of arid landscapes. I don't really know why. And there's a lot of like empty lots that are just full of dust and shite, and like, you know, like half of it's like a concrete structure or something, or like fenced off areas that are just full of crap. You do see that quite a lot. And I think in some of the smaller towns, there's quite a lot of that. There's quite a lot of sort of just that, really, just kind of like crap. And it's a bit dry. The climate is a bit dry. So, yeah, I don't know. I would imagine there's less of that in the north. I'm thinking of moving to the north eventually because it rains a lot more there. That's the only thing in terms of the scenery and the landscape. No, I don't care about that, but that, I guess that would be like a mark against it in some way. But yeah, the mountains, the scenery in general, and because there's a lot of like people do a lot of things outdoors, there's really good parks. The main park in Valencia, the Turia, is like best park I've ever seen by a mile. It used to be a river that went all the way through the city. It's really long, like it would take you 90 minutes to walk the length of it. So it used to be a river, and they drained all the water out and turned it into a park, which is fucking incredible. Like, because most parks, you know, it's like a square or something, and you kind of, but this is like, oh, I fucking love it, man. It's so good. I think Luna really misses it. She used to love it there, and it was really nice walking her there. It's a great, oh man, I feel like almost emotional thinking about that park. I love it so much. When we first got here, we couldn't believe it. Like, it was just, it's so nice, so nice. So it's wide, you know, it's long because it's a river, but it's wide as well, and it's got cycle paths. There's cycle paths everywhere in Valencia, so like you're not having to kind of, it's not annoying with cyclists and shit. That was always a problem in England, but not here. And in the parks as well, everything is quite like orderly in a sense, and people are generally a lot more well behaved. So that's the thing as well, you can have nice things here. Like, I didn't intend for this video to be me bitching about England, but there's so much stuff that is so much better here. Like, in that way, like you can have nice stuff here and just leave it in the park. You know, like you can't even have a fucking net on a goal in England on a football pitch, which is for kids, and you can't even have it. It's gone in 2 days. Someone has ripped the net from the goal. And it's like, oh great, have fun with the net. Like, you can't have a basketball net. You can't have fucking anything in England. Like, people just ruin it, basically. The parks are just like, there's nice parks in England, don't get me wrong, but like, and there's like bad behaviour here. There's a lot of like littering and shit as well, like same as there is everywhere, but I don't know, you just feel like there's not that like weird malicious fucking vandalism and shit. So the park is orderly and really long. So yeah, you can walk all the way down one side of it, which will take about 90 minutes. And then you can go all the way up the other side, which is different because it's wide enough that like if you walk down one side, you haven't really seen the other side. So it takes a very long time to get bored of it at all, because when I would walk Luna, we were in the middle, so we could go that way and come back that way, or we could go that way and come back that way, or, you know, whatever. There's all different ways you can go. And there's stuff in there like, there's like water features and mini golf things and people on those like pedal things and little gardens and stuff. There's cats. There's loads of cats in the park that live there, and they're like supposed to live there, and they get fed, and it's amazing. There's one part of it as well. This was a shame, actually, though. There's another little park that's attached to the main park. It comes off the centre of it. You can see all this on like Street View, I guess, if you're curious. And it's, so you've got the main park that runs all the way through, and then on the bend, there's like another little park here attached to it. You cross the road and you go here. It's like right next to it. And it's beautiful. It's got like fountains and stuff. Really, really, really fucking nice. And there's loads of cats there. That is like the cat park, basically. It's full of cats. And they're really beautiful, and they're quite like tame. They'll come over to you and stuff. But it's always like these weird guys there. I don't know if it's like a spot for like meeting for sex or something. I don't know. But there's always a weird vibe. Like Tara stopped going there on her own because it was just weird, and just groups of men would like congregate and sort of follow her and stare at her. And that is a thing. I'll get onto that in a minute. But yeah, and one time we're pretty sure a guy was wanking in his pocket, this old man. It seems to be a dirty hangout spot, which is very unfortunate because it's a beautiful place full of cats and stuff. So I don't know. Yeah, and in terms of weird, like, pervy behaviour, yeah, I don't know why. There's a lot more of that here. Like, and I realise in hindsight how sort of respectful men are in England. Like, in that way, doesn't really happen. Like, yeah, obviously, like, you know, nights out and stuff, like things like that happen. But here in the summer, it's a pretty common, just regular occurrence, basically. One time a guy grabbed Tara's pussy in the street, which is crazy. I had to like detain him, and we called the police. And that was really weird. And then she was invited to like go to court. It was whatever. It was all a big thing. And people taking pictures up her skirt. A lot of men just like chasing her around, chasing her through the park and shit, and just being really just like leery and shit. And like, you know, like, I don't know. I look at women in the street, but like, probably when I was younger as well, I didn't have much of a sense of like what's polite, you know, because instinctively, to be fair, you do just do it. Like if you see hot women, you just kind of, it's weird. I always think about it because there's no benefit to it. You don't get anything. If anything, it just makes you kind of frustrated because you're like, oh wow, she's beautiful. She'll never sleep with me. But you still just do it anyway. You know, instinctively, you just feel like you kind of have to. It's weird. You feel compelled to do it, but you develop some sense of like what's appropriate and polite. And yeah, by and large, I guess people have that here, but like it's surprising how much like that goes on, that kind of stuff, basically like harassing women. And women I've spoken to have said that like dating guys here can be pretty fucking insane. Like I think the whole kind of like Me Too vibe has caught on a bit more and a bit earlier in England. There doesn't seem as much sense of that here. And I've heard quite a lot of stories of like, yeah, just seriously inappropriate behaviour on dates and like just crazy shit like that, basically, that you wouldn't really expect. And I can't really figure out why. But yeah, that shit happens a lot, which is a bit depressing. The weather. Yeah, the weather's really nice if you like sun, obviously. It's getting hotter and hotter here, like yearly. Valencia's alright, it's not too hot. It's not as hot as like Sevilla and places like that. But it's not as hot as Madrid either, and there's the coastal breeze, so it's okay. We'll get to like 35 in the summer. And yeah, it's alright. I mean, I used to go out and work out, and I used to go out because between 2 and 4 is like the siesta time, which is funny. Like everything's closed. It's fucking insane. And that's when it's the peak of the heat. So when I used to go and do calisthenics at the park, I didn't want to be around other people working out, because I used to get into weird like petty disputes over the pull-up bar and stuff, and I just wanted to be on my own and be a lot of guys. Apparently it's like a gay hangout spot, and I think one guy did try to like shag me. I found out afterwards it was like apparently like a gay hangout spot, which I guess makes sense in a way. There's a lot of like buff guys there, but also it seemed to just generally be like a kind of hangout place, and people would work out and chat to each other, and I just wanted to like listen to my death grips and just fucking train and be like intense. And so I didn't really want to be around anyone. So I used to go between 2 and 4 when it was piping hot, and no one would dare, like they don't go outside in that weather generally. Like they certainly don't go for a run or do calisthenics. So that was cool. I used to have the park to myself, but it was fucking hot, and I got like brown at one point. Like I was fully like, I was like fucking transracial at that point. I was really, yeah, it was crazy. It gets pretty hot. The hottest I ever experienced it was when, I guess there's this wind that comes from the south, from Africa, because Morocco is literally like so close to Spain. You can get a ferry from Spain to Morocco in like really, I think like half an hour or something. And so there's this wind that comes there sometimes, like a couple of times a year, that comes from Africa. And I remember one time I went outside and it was cloudy, it wasn't sunny, and it was like the hottest air I've ever felt. It was unbelievable. You just felt it. I can remember the feeling of it. It was shocking. It was so hot. And that's much hotter than the temperature. You know, the temperature reading isn't accurate because it depends how it is. That doesn't tell you how it feels. And yeah, it was boiling. It was fucking boiling, this wind. It was like crazy. So it gets very hot. Sometimes it's a bit exhausting, the heat. It's a bit difficult to do, live your day-to-day life in the summer. You just feel sometimes like you don't want to be on a computer working in that weather, really. Wait one sec. Yeah, you don't really want to be on a computer working when it's that hot. You just feel a bit like you just kind of want to like either be outside or just do nothing, or I don't know. Yeah, it's hard to explain it. I felt like in England I was much more inclined to work on things in my free time, to like sit on the computer and work on music and write things and do things. Something about the sun kind of makes you lazy. It makes you like it makes you just want to like, but just to not really do anything, basically. You just I don't know how to describe it. It's just not conducive to like hard work. So there's that. The summer for 2 months, 2.5 months, roughly 2-3 months, it's a bit much. Here for a while, there's no aircon in this apartment, and I was sleeping you forget, I'm having to remember it now because it's winter now, and you just forget. But yeah, in the summer, this summer that's just passed, it was pretty unbearable here. Like you have like fans on, but the fans are just blowing hot air on you, and you can't sleep, and you can't have a duvet, so you don't feel right because you haven't got anything on top of you. And the dog was getting so hot, and it was worrying. And there's not much you can do if you don't have air conditioning, and if you do have air conditioning, it costs a lot. So that's difficult in the summer. And it means that you get a lot of insects, cockroaches. That's been a big problem. Here it's fine, we're on the 5th floor and there's no roaches, which is fucking nice. Again, you forget, like once in a while I see something on the floor that looks like a roach and I'm like, oh fuck, and then I'm like, oh no, it's cool, yeah, it's just a piece of fluff, we don't have roaches here. And I just feel so relieved that there's no roaches in this apartment, because most of the other places we lived in, apart from like 1 or 2, have had roaches. One of them was like infested with roaches. Yeah. Oh, they're really disgusting. We would see them climbing all over our kitchen, and oh god, yeah, they're so fucking disgusting. I think you build up a tolerance, you get used to it, but now that I'm remembering them, because I'm not used to it, I think, God, I would not like that to be happening now. For a while it was just normal. I just thought, yeah, there's just roaches are just part of life. And to be fair, they don't really do anything. Like, so a lot of people here don't really give a shit, because yeah, if you go online, they say, oh, it can spread germs, they spread E. coli. Yeah, they do. It's not obviously hygienic to have roaches all over your house, but I've never heard of someone getting sick, getting seriously ill from a cockroach. I don't know. Yeah, I don't think an infestation is a big problem, obviously, but generally speaking, they're not really an issue. They're just disgusting. They're just fucking disgusting. Oh, they're so disgusting. I fucking hate them. And it was my job to deal with them, you know, like Tara wouldn't even fucking look at them. So I was like the roach killer. A couple times I had to just pick them up with my hand. And back when I was living in England, I'd never seen a roach before. And if you told me, like, in a couple of years, you'll be, like, picking up roaches with your hand and throwing them in the toilet, yeah, I wouldn't have believed you. But at times I was working, I was on my computer on, like, meetings and stuff, and there's roaches, like, climbing up the wall onto my laptop and stuff, you know, and I can't say anything because I'm trying to, that's so disgusting. And then when I lived on my own in the centre, there was a really bad infestation there. And there were baby roaches everywhere. I had loads of baby roaches. One time I came back, I went out to the shop and I came back and there were like in my little shitty, you could see my kitchen in that place. It was next to the washing machine, that little counter, that was my kitchen. There was a little electric hob on there and they were all over it. There was like 7 or 8 baby roaches. They were climbing everywhere and then they went under the curtains. They all like scattered when I came in. It was so disgusting. And the thing is, if you're seeing them in the daytime, there's so many in your apartment because they don't come out in the daytime really. So the fact that I saw 7 or 8 baby ones in the daytime was a disaster. It was terrible. And it was hard to get the landlord to do anything about it. We had a big falling out over it. Fucking, I went psycho in the end. And we ended on good terms. It got pretty tense for a while. We ended on good terms. He was a nice guy. I think it's expensive to pay for that shit when you're only getting like, you know, $450 a month or whatever in rent. Yeah, so there's the roaches to worry about. And yeah, and you can't always deal with them, really. There's not always something you can do. If they're in your area, like when I was in Cabin Yard by the beach, it was just rubbish everywhere. It was really dirty, like the streets and everything. So you can't avoid it. They'll just come in from outside no matter what you do. If you've got an infestation, you can, in theory, deal with it in your place, but there's a limit, basically, to what you can do in some areas. So you want to live high up and you want to just live somewhere clean. Yeah. But you get used to it, yeah, and they don't actually do anything, and it's yeah. In the winter it gets pretty cold. Like now it's freezing because the apartments, as I said, they're not built for it, so it's really cold now. But it's nice. The seasons, I like it because you get, it becomes unbearably hot and then it starts to cool down again, and that's really enjoyable, and then it gets very cold and then you kind of start getting a bit fed up of the cold and then it starts to warm up again. So it's very nice. You get a nice momentum to the weather. The spring and autumn are the best times, but I do like the kind of extreme weather and the changing of the weather and stuff. I really enjoy like seasons in general, so that's cool here. You get very pronounced seasons. At night it's pretty cold. So that's cool. The language. This is going to be a fucking long video, I'm realising. I've had this huge list, and this video is going to be like 4 hours. Cool, why not? The language is... I like it. I should be honest, I haven't really learned it as well as I should have done. I've been here almost 3 years now, and I'm not, like, fluent. I don't have any friends who are... I don't really have any friends, but I don't have any friends who speak Spanish. When I was single, I was thinking, oh, it'd be cool if I had a Spanish girlfriend for a while, you know, because I probably would have learned quite quickly then, because I have a natural aptitude for language. But I have, to be honest with you, I have like no... I have enough. I don't ever speak to people in English. Like I think it's... I hate it when people do that. And I see some tourists doing it, and like, oh, it's just presumptuous, man. It's fucking rude. Like, they go over and they're just like, can I buy a ticket? And it's just like, what are you doing? Like, you didn't even ask. You don't even learn the phrase, do you speak English? You don't even say that phrase in Spanish. Like, I know some, like, tourist points and stuff, fine. It's safe to assume they speak English. But some people, man, they're fucking rude. You see them and they're just like, they're saying thanks and please, and it's like, you couldn't learn those words in Spanish even for your 1 week trip. It's not fucking hard, man. Like, You go on holiday anywhere, you can learn like 4 or 5 simple phrases. That pisses me off. I don't want to be one of those. There's a weird thing amongst expats, a sort of snobbery about other expats. I don't go on the expat Facebook groups anymore because they're fucking horrible. And everyone's competing to be the most like sort of integrated expat and the most culturally respectful and the most, you know, and I hate all that. I don't want to be one of those people. But yeah, some people just act like fucking bums, man. Like they just don't even... They don't even attempt it, and it's rude. But you get into weird things. I mean, like some people, they just start speaking to you in English because they think your Spanish is shit, or they want to practice. You can't always tell. And sometimes I'm like, oh, I want to keep speaking in Spanish, and I'm trying to like, and you get into this weird kind of thing. I don't know, and yeah, their level of English is okay. We really struggle with their accent, with their sounds, and they really struggle with ours. The countries are quite close together and quite similar kind of culturally, but the languages are like very different, and it's really hard for us to make the sounds, and it's really hard for them to make the sounds. Like Spanish people, in my opinion, they struggle with the pronunciation almost as much as someone from like Asia or something. Like they really struggle with it, and we sound quite brutal when we speak Spanish, to be fair. Like they don't like the sound of it. Whereas a French person speaking English, it sounds like pretty sexy, and I've heard like the other way round, it can sometimes sound quite good. I don't think that's the case with Spanish and English. It's a bad mix. It's yeah, the languages are not in spoken they're not complementary in that way, and I enjoy speaking it. I like the way the language functions. I don't always like listening to it. I don't think it sounds great. It's very fast, and the syllables get blurred together a lot, like they take big sounds, like large phrases, and they just like shrink them into nothing. And it's efficient, but do you need to speak that fast? I don't really think so. I don't see any reason to speak that fast. I just think, I don't know, in places where people speak more slowly, there's no problem. It's not, you know, you can't really think that quickly anyway. So sometimes I hear people speaking insanely fast, and I'm like, what are you talking about that quickly? How much coffee have you had? Like, what could you possibly be saying that fast where you're actually thinking? You know, it's a bit crazy. For example, like to say see you later, it's like hasta luego, but so that's like 5 syllables, hasta luego, but they're just kind of like hasta luego, and it's like, well, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I don't really enjoy that aspect of the language. It's one thing just to speak fast, but they speak fast all the syllables kind of blur together. It's the second fastest spoken language in terms of syllables per second. Japanese is first, but in Japanese they don't do that. They pronounce all the syllables, so it sounds really cool. Like if you think about what it sounds like, if you listen to like narration or something in Japanese, it's very fast, but you hear every sound. Every sound is clear. Not the case with Spanish. It's very, I don't know. So I'm sure it's cool in a way if you have something you want to say quickly to be able to speak that quickly, but I wouldn't say it's like beautiful to listen to. However, it looks amazing written down. I love that aspect. I really like the words. I don't always like how they are used, kind of, but I really like the whole, I don't know, yeah, it's a beautiful language in a sense, and it's so functional, and like, I really like a lot of the words, and I like the idea. It's almost like I don't always like it in practice, but I like it in general, in theory, and what is really good is that the pronunciation is completely consistent. So if it's the letter E, it's pronounced as the letter E. If it's the letter A, you know, that every letter is pronounced exactly how it is pronounced. It's not like England where you have like through, though, rough, trough, plough, and it's like, how the fuck are those all spelled the same? And they're completely different sounds. That's so confusing for foreigners, but Spanish, it's not like that. So if you can learn the pronunciation and you can learn the sounds, obviously there's the like R sound, which I still can't make clearly because I have a fucking fat tongue. If you can learn all the sounds, you're fine for pronunciation. But there's no weird, so that's cool. And the structure of it is interesting. The verb structure, like, you just change the end of the word to change the verb form. Like hablo is like I speak, hablas is you speak, hablan is they speak, hablamos is we speak, hablar is like the infinitive. You get a picture basically. It's like, it's you just alter the word. So in English you would say like we, and you have speak, and you say we speak, like, well, you know what it is in English because you're watching this fucking video. But yeah, so it's different, and I like that. I think it's cool. A lot of, I don't know, I enjoy messing around with it in my head and thinking in the language and reading it and stuff. It's cool. I wish I had more. I know you can like practice with people online and shit, but it's just I don't know. I have enough to get by, and when I learn new phrases and things, I don't use them because they never come up in the conversations that I have. So I just, I wish I had more. I don't know. I like it. I enjoy speaking it, but whatever. Yeah, it's, people say it's difficult to learn. I don't know. It's difficult to understand. There's a lot of weird grammar stuff, a lot of weird phrases and stuff. It can be difficult to understand people, but I kind of think it's quite easy to learn in some ways. I don't know. I haven't really learned any other language. Well, I mean, I tried, for example, learning a bit of Russian, and like you have to learn a whole new alphabet and shit. Whereas in Spanish, the alphabet is basically identical. It's like A is A and B is be and stuff like that. E is E, you know, like it's M is eme. So it's like, it's kind of how you say the alphabet when you're like a kid, you know, like how you say the English alphabet. It's basically the same, you know. People are like abed, it's pretty much like that, really. And I like N. They have like, you know, the N with the thing on it, and stuff like that is pretty cool. It looks great written down, and the backwards question marks and shit. It's all nice. Okay, mass. So there's a strong family culture here, which is really good. I think that's amazing. Much more so than in the UK. Like, you'll see, for example, like a 14-year-old boy out with his mum, and they're holding hands. I wouldn't even be seen near my mum at that age. I was like, fuck you, mum, I'm cool. And I was not. And here it's like, I don't know. It's normal, like, to like hold hands with your parents and stuff, and to just hang out with them. And I'm sure there's varying degrees of it. Not everybody, you know, sees it in that way, and some of them are becoming a bit like kind of anglicized or whatever, or Americanized. But pretty strong family culture. And there is, you know, I mean, there is in the UK as well. But there's more. There's definitely more here. I'm keen to avoid generalizations, not because I think it's offensive or something, but because it can be easy to, you know, for example, I see like people eating in restaurants with their family, and I think, oh, look, it's so nice, family culture. You fucking see families eating in restaurants in the UK. It's not like that doesn't exist. It just feels a bit more pronounced here. There's stuff like that a lot. Again, certain days people do certain things. Sunday, it's fucking closed. Everything is closed on Sunday. Everyone is with their family. That's just what you fucking do on a Sunday. I love that. I think it's great. I mean, I don't always love it when I want to like buy stuff, but literally, like, sometimes on Sunday, not in the centre, you can find stuff in the centre, but sometimes on a Sunday you can't. I mean, there's no supermarkets, there's no like even little supermarkets and shit. It's like, everything's closed, which is good. And you go out in the morning on a Sunday and it's like dead. The city's empty, which is crazy. Well, probably not during a tourist season, but I was there during COVID, so it was all a bit different. Man, I'm getting exhausted. Fucking can't imagine how you feel listening if you've gotten this far. So there's that. Yeah, there's a strong family culture. And quite traditional in some respects. You can see that dying a bit. You can see the sort of TikTokification of the youth a little bit. You see a lot of kind of TikTok kids around. Quite literally, sometimes you see them doing TikToks, you know, and they've got like crazy fucking hair and shit, and they're all sort of, you know, you're not exactly sure like what they are. There's quite a large contingent of that, and depressingly, there's quite a lot of like ACAB graffiti around, and a lot of like resentment of their own country, their own culture, which is kind of a trend in Europe, which is like just self-hatred, which I'm sure people have, you know, a variety of opinions on that. I think it's terrible. I really think it's terrible to hate your own culture in that way, and to I don't know, to rebel against it in a way that's so like petty and kind of unproductive, but also a bit destructive, really. And it's you don't know what you have until it's gone. And it might sound it's like caring about your culture is seen as racist in certain countries, and you don't say that when you go to when you wouldn't go to Iran or to, well, actually people have been doing this in like Qatar and shit recently, but you wouldn't go to like like Turkey and be like, who fucking cares if you keep Turkish culture? What's so important and special about Turkey? Why does Turkey have to be Turkish? Why don't you just... You wouldn't say that, because you respect it when it's another country. Generally speaking, it depends on what type of person you are. You go to Japan, it's fucking Japanese. Like, it's not a racist thing. It's like, that's one of the things that's amazing about the world, and people should be able to mix and think. But like, first and foremost, it's Japan. You know, like that means something. And once it's gone, you can't get it back. And Europe is becoming a blurry mess, and it's quite a bad atmosphere in a lot of places, and you don't know where you are. And I know to a lot of people this is the kind of thing that just like an old racist man says or something, but it's not right to look at it like that. It's really not. And I think people will realise that one day. There is something that's perhaps difficult to describe in words that's important about that. And you see it hit because you're like, okay, well then everything about Spain is terrible, and you're gonna, you know, fucking TikTokify the whole country, and then what are you gonna have? You know, like, what's it gonna be? What's your vision, you know, for how the place should be? Okay, bad things happen in the past. What's your actual solution to that? What are you really, apart from just like, you know, pointing finger? I can't, it's difficult to explain, and it's not the right topic for this video, and it's too big of a topic, and I'm sure not everybody agrees, but to me it's painful to watch what's happening in Europe, and it's a bit crazy to me to see people bending over backwards to point out the historical crimes and shortcomings of their own country, whilst completely ignoring everything that happens everywhere else in the world, and pretending that every other country is a hippie commune where everyone's holding hands and treating each other nicely, and that the only people who've ever done anything bad and who deserve to suffer as like Europeans. I don't know. That's fucking crazy to me. And I think it's not the right way to handle it, in my opinion. And I think it's there's a pace of change that's sensible, and then there's a pace that's just, you're just fucking out of control, you know. And it's pretty clear that's happened in some places already, where things have just changed kind of irreparably. Yeah, I don't want to get into any more of that. It's fucking too political for this video. So yeah, there's a kind of a sort of, as I said, a kind of TikTokification, and there's a lot of ACAB graffiti, and I don't get the impression the police here are hugely nice, but it's a bit odd to see American social justice issues like all over the place here. They were very big on like BLM and George Floyd and stuff, and I thought like, this is Spain. It's literally the other side of the world. It's a different language. There's stuff going on in China and in the Middle East and in Asia. And why are you not talking about like civil wars that are going on in other countries? Why are you not talking about terrorism? Like, why are you not talking about dictatorships that people live under right now? It's weird. And the ACAB stuff is bizarre. I cannot believe that people say that. I can understand like teenagers, just whatever, they're like graffitiing ACAB, but a lot of adults say that. And I've never been the biggest fan of police myself. Truly, I really have not. Like, I've kind of never liked them. But even I can't believe how socially accepted that sentiment is. I think that is just unbelievable. It's an unbelievable way to talk about other human beings. It's just beyond crazy. And if you haven't seen any examples of like police doing good or kind things or being nice people, whether it's in your life or on the internet or just heard of them or known people who then you've had your head in the sand. I don't know. I agree that by and large, like I in the UK, like, I don't know, they've ignored a lot of really bad stuff. They didn't do anything about Savile. They didn't do anything about all these like rape gangs. They arrest people for speech-related offences. They do shitty things to like protesters. They arrest people for bags of weed and stuff. Like, there's loads of reasons, and a lot of the time it's just corporate security. Basically, they're there to protect like the rich. I understand all of that. That's still not an appropriate way to speak about people, in my opinion. It's crazy. I wish I really shouldn't even bother getting into all this anyway for this video. It's just not, there's no point. But yeah, you see that stuff. The police here in general, they seem okay. One weird trend is that they're all like really hot men. They're all like really tall, like handsome, hard-looking men, which is weird. Obviously Tara enjoyed that a lot when we got here, which was, I wasn't a huge fan of it. There's not a lot of women police. They carry guns around as well. They always have like shotguns and SMGs, which is kind of crazy because there's not a lot of guns here. That is mad. You get the feeling you wouldn't want to, like, I don't know, you see the police in England, they turn up in like a rainbow car and they're like fat and stuff, and you're like, oh yeah, maybe I'd fancy my chances against these guys. But here you wouldn't really want to mess with them. I don't doubt that there are a lot of problems with their police force. You kind of get that vibe a bit, really, that they're not the nicest in general. But again, I mean, it comes down to the individual, really. Same with police anywhere. There's pockets of it that's, it's really corrupt, and there's pockets of them that are really corrupt, and pockets of them that are like decent and doing a good job. So there's that. I guess I have to make my fucking breakfast, really. I'll continue this video, I don't know, tomorrow or this evening or something. So yeah, on the subject of culture, there's a very festive, I guess we associate festive with Christmas, I don't know, but not festive, I think festive is the right word. A very festival and party oriented culture here. I was not fully aware of this beforehand. It's one of the things that for me is a bit difficult. There's a lot of public holidays, which if you work for a Spanish company is amazing because you get so many paid days off, because there's all the national holidays and then there's all the local holidays, and there's loads. There's like 25 days a year or something that you get off. Some aspects of that are cool, but it tends to involve a lot of fireworks, and to me, some people don't like it, and then there's a pushback against those people, like, oh, lighten up, have some fun, whatever. To me, like, I don't need fireworks to have fun. I would never want to stop people doing that. But I think in most places, people have sort of settled on fireworks being a pretty occasional thing. Like, you don't really need too many fireworks, like, they get a bit boring after a while anyway. It's just like a bang, and it's not hugely exciting, but they seem quite infatuated with fireworks here. And for people with dogs, it's quite difficult. A lot of dogs and cats die every year from the fireworks. And it's, and it's not just foreigners that don't like it. A lot of locals don't like it. Like, I've spoken to a huge number of locals, because a lot of people are like, oh, well, why are you here if you don't like it? Why are you here if you're going to complain about this or that? And I think that's stupid, really. I think for example, it depends what you're doing. I mean, for example, I was looking for a place to rent for a weekend when there was this big festival in Valencia. And I wasn't even complaining about the fireworks. I was like, yeah, I just need a place to go away with my dog. And this is what I mean about the snobby expat culture, where they try to show how they're a superior expat and they're more... I hadn't even complained, and I was like, I need a place to go for the weekend because there's going to be a whole weekend of fireworks. Does anyone know a town where they don't have this festival? And there's all these people like, why would you, why would you move to Spain if you don't like fireworks? And like, God, like, I don't know, there's this sort of weird thing of like, you have to love it or you're a bad person. And I think that's really stupid, because tons of local people don't like it and find it really annoying. And I'm in that camp. I don't like it. I'm not out in the fucking street screaming at people about it. I'm not really even trying to say they should change it. Certainly not for my sake. But if I have to give a yes or no on it, do I like it? I'd say no, not really. It's kind of annoying to me. And it's a bit annoying to professionals, because I guess in the past there weren't as many people with 9-to-5 jobs. It was a bit different, like the way the economy was structured was a bit different. But now in a city like Valencia, like when they have this big festival, this it's called Fiestas, and it's like a huge street party. It goes on till 4 or 5 in the morning. It's fireworks all night. It goes on for days. Well, the main thing, actually, it goes on for almost a month. It goes on for 2 weeks or something. But the really loud part is for like 3 or 4 days or something. I don't know, because I left. But it's you might think you've experienced like street parties before and noise, but it's not. It's on a different level. It's like the idea is that you don't sleep. And basically, most people say if you live in the centre, you don't sleep for 2 weeks. You maybe sleep for like an hour or two a night, but you can't really sleep. You'll be hearing fireworks literally at 5 a.m. It's insanely loud. And during that, it was very difficult for dogs, basically. And it does irritate me that people say that it's only foreigners that have a problem with that, because it's not. And I understand it. I don't know. It has the potential to be sort of hypocritical in some way, which is why I'm sort of tiptoeing around the subject of the fact that I just don't like it. But I don't think I think you can do those things. You can have those celebrations and just kind of taper it slightly. I don't think it has to be. I don't think you have to stop doing it. I don't think you have to fundamentally change it. I just think perhaps people could be a bit. The noise could be limited to specific times and days a bit more. I think a whole weekend is already quite a lot. Like one night, people can easily just, leave. Having to leave for a couple of weeks is quite difficult. And so for a lot of people who are locals, who have office jobs, a lot of people who work remote jobs, or they just work in normal companies, they're not allowed to just take time off just because of this festival. They have to work. And it's difficult, basically. I've spoken to a lot of people who really don't enjoy it at all. And so it's not an issue of foreigners versus locals. It's really an issue of just people who have the luxury of enjoying that and who like doing it and who can take time off work and who have the money if they need to go somewhere else on, you know, if necessary. And then people who don't necessarily have those luxuries, or people who have lots of pets and things. So we took Luna, my dog, and we just went to a different town for a couple of weeks, and that was fine. It was expensive. It would have been easier if it was just a few days, but it was like for a couple of weeks, so it was a bit tricky, but fine. It was quite enjoyable, really, to leave. But yeah, I don't know. Yeah, it's not always possible for people to do that. So they have that, yeah, and it's in general, I mean, here where I live now, for example, part of the reason we moved here was because we thought it would be much quieter, because Luna really doesn't like fireworks. So we thought, like, it's probably a bit crazy to be in the centre, let's just leave. And it turns out they love fireworks here. Now she's used to them. We give her turkey every time there's fireworks. If I say there's fireworks every weekend, it sounds like I'm being hyperbolic. To be completely honest, not hyperbolic, probably 80% of weekends there's fireworks, literally 80%. Like, they're just, I don't know what's going on, but there's always some kind of party or festival or fireworks or whatever. And yeah, all of it is fine. It's just the fireworks can be quite frustrating. Now we don't really care, and like probably we could have stayed in the centre now because she's used to it. But when we first had her, she had been living in a rural area and she had never heard fireworks before. And on New Year's Eve there were fireworks, and she was like just trembling for hours. She was hiding under the table. She wouldn't move. We couldn't get her to eat. We were giving her like her favourite foods. She wouldn't even eat them. And she likes her food, you know. It was crazy. She was really, really, really distressed and completely like kind of catatonic over it. It was quite intense. Now she doesn't care. She like runs to the fridge to get turkey, so it's all right. So yeah, there's that, which is difficult. Noise in general can be quite loud. You don't have the kind of drunken noise you get in England. You get more just general noise. I don't know. It's quite loud. It's quite a loud place in general, but it's not. It's more just people shouting and stuff like in the street. It's not the same kind of noise. It's kind of different. So yeah, there's that. There seems to be a different attitude towards loudness, basically, to what I'm used to. Yeah, the other thing, there's a number of things. I'm trying to figure out the best order to describe this in, because it's kind of, yeah, basically the taxes are insane. The taxes themselves are pretty high, like they're up there with, you know, some of the higher taxes in Europe, not at the absolute top end, but they're pretty high. But then you have to pay social security fees, which are like €300 a month, and that's not that's a base rate. That's not your taxes. That's just if you want to be self-employed, you pay social security. If you want to employ somebody, you pay that. So it makes companies, small businesses, very reluctant to take on employees, obviously, because they have to pay for every employee. They have to pay €300 a month, which is crazy. Plus you pay other stuff. So if you're self-employed, you pay €300 a month. It starts out lower, but after 2 years it gradually rises, and by the end of those 2 years it's €300 a month. By a mile the highest social security fees in Europe, and I think in the world. And you don't get much for it at all. I mean, really, I have no idea where that money goes. It's pretty baffling. So you pay that. Sorry, it's a bit weird to just drop myself down like that. Unannounced. It'd be weird if I announced it as well, though. I'm going to lower myself now, guys. I'm going to lower my chair. Yeah, so you pay that, then you pay, I think, depending on what you earn, 30 plus in taxes. Then you have to pay for an accountant. It's like, even if you're like a small business or independent, you have to have an accountant, really. There's various other fees. It's really expensive to be self-employed, and it's a nightmare, and it's ridiculous. And that's something I don't have any hesitation in saying is terrible, because I mean it's not even part of the culture. It's just a ridiculous scam, basically a governmental scam that you can see it really has a big impact, particularly on young people. Like, they don't seem as entrepreneurial. they don't seem to have any confidence that they can be. There's not a kind of like optimism, like a kind of financial optimism. It's like you can work for a multinational and just get a paycheck for the rest of your life. You can be part of the tourist economy and just have some kind of crappy job in the tourist economy, or you can kind of just do nothing and live with your parents. There's not a lot of choice other than that, really, and that's very sad because it's presented as socialist. It's not socialist to charge somebody €300 a month base rate to be self-employed regardless of what they earn. So you could be earning €100 a month from your business. That could be all that you're bringing in. You still have to pay €300 a month to be self-employed. There's no justification for that. It's wrong. It's crazy. It's completely insane. It's absolutely insane. So, nobody understands it. Nobody knows where the money's going, why they do this. They changed it recently and all they really did is make it worse. And it's mind-blowing. So that makes things very difficult, and it's one of the things that leads to it not being a very business-oriented, entrepreneurial place. And in a sense, that sounds good, but it's not that people aren't working, and it's not that life is it is more relaxed, but really it's not. I think it just gives people less hope for the future, less hope for what they're doing with their time, like less kind of, as I say, less optimism in their financial future, and their ability to be independent. And that is the antithesis of socialism. So I don't understand how somebody who's a millionaire and somebody who's earning nothing, how them paying the same social security base rate is even remotely socialist. It's the complete fucking opposite. It's socialist by name and nothing else. It's really, really bad. And all it means is people just lie and don't pay taxes. They don't, and if it was a more reasonable fee, people would pay it and you would get the money and it would be fair. And it's absolutely bonkers. There are some exemptions, but not many. So that's really difficult. And it just leads to this kind of, there's just not a very good work culture, not a very good sort of entrepreneurial spirit. And you see that reflected in almost everything. When you deal with big corporations and chains, it's fine. It's just normal. It's the same as it is anywhere. But when you deal with especially tradesmen or low-level employees or kind of independent businesses, it's really, you see a big difference, like a really, really big difference. Everything takes forever to get done, basically. Like everything is insanely slow. If you're dealing with like letting agents, you're dealing with orders for things, you're dealing with couriers, you're dealing with not so much with couriers, that's a whole separate issue, but if you're dealing with removal people, or you're dealing with tradesmen, gardeners, plumbers, anything like that, it's you're almost always kind of better off going with a foreigner. And that is partially, I mean, they're subject to the same conditions, but I think just people who've lived in other places, whether it's like Polish people or people from the Middle East or whatever, they've developed a different kind of work ethic because they've lived in places that facilitate that. There's just not, I don't know, it just doesn't really seem to exist here. For example, we were trying to get a removal guy, a man with a van, as it is in the UK, and even in London or an expensive city in England, it's pretty like easy to get one. There's a lot of people. It's an entry-level job. It's cash work. You can often pay £20-30 an hour and get someone quite easily who is just happy to have the work and happy to take cash and whatever. Here, it's like they just don't want to do it. Like, you have to almost talk people into doing things. You have to like rope them into it. In London, if you don't do it, someone else is going to just come and do it instead, and you won't get that money and you won't make a living. And it's just, I don't know, there are things in place that just push you into working harder in other places, I think, that aren't there here. It's really, really difficult to get people to do things, and it's a bit maddening. We were trying to get a removal person, and it was fucking horrible. It was like, just, it's like you literally have to talk them into it. It's like you have to convince them, and you have to like, and it's like they're happy to sit around all day like texting you about the details of the job and like this and that, and like, I won't do this and blah blah blah, and I'm not going to do it if it's this. Are there any stairs? Do I have to carry things upstairs? Are the items heavy? Are they and I feel like in most other places people are just like, cool, all right, we'll figure out a reasonable rate and let's just go and get it done. But yeah, it tends to be a nightmare here to do things like that. And the more so than that, even the craziest thing, and again, it will sound like I'm being hyperbolic, but when we order food, it's wrong like 90% of the time. Like you order takeaways and shit, and it's like they just get everything wrong always. It's just crazy. It's it's become a running joke now. We just are like, there will be something missing like every single time we order food. Again, to be exact and not hyperbolic at all, more than 80% of the time, definitely, like more than 80% of the time, there's at least one fairly substantial thing missing from the order, or something that's just completely wrong, or it's just like freezing cold, or it's fucking terrible, basically. Like, it's just always, and we're not uptight at all. We're not picking, it's like, oh, okay, you know, they forgot some sauces or whatever, who gives a shit? It's not like that. It's like you order like chicken and rice, you know, kind of together, two separate dishes, and they just don't give you the rice, and you're like, oh, I'm just going to have literally like a chicken breast for dinner. Great, you know. It happens all the time. Just unbelievable. Like, really, 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 the service is shocking. And you go to places sometimes and you feel like they're angry at you for trying to use to buy something from them. You know, it's like you feel like you've done something wrong just by looking around the shop. It's like, I don't know how to describe it. It's like, as the customer, you're sort of like the enemy, and that's bizarre. It's bizarre as an outsider. It really, really is odd. And again, I think it comes from like, the people don't see a potential upward trajectory, and it's the same in most places, like to some degree. And you know, certain people, understandably, in their jobs and their lives, they don't see much of a future, so maybe they have a crappy like entry-level job and they think, all right, I'm never really going to have a better job than this, so who gives a shit? Definitely there are people everywhere with that mindset. It seems a lot more pervasive here, to a point where everybody has accepted their position on the ladder. They're not trying to like do a great job so they can get more work, or so they can get a promotion, or so they can get, it's just that mindset just really doesn't seem to exist, which is sad to see, because you saw, for example, when the pandemic hit, and there were no tourists there, the place took a massive hit economically, like, and you know, it's not sensible to rely on tourism. There are loads of reasons why tourism might stop or slow down, loads of things that can have an impact on it. Brexit has had a big impact on not so much tourism, but like people coming for long-term stays and stuff from the UK. And you should foster kind of entrepreneurial economy within your own country, and it's just better. Power shouldn't all be centralized with like massive companies and multinationals and stuff. That's a disaster for normal working people. So it could be so much better in that way, and to me, like, it's depressing to see. It's depressing to see that that's what is offered to people, really. I don't think that's right, and I think there's a lot more that could be done to change it that's not being done, basically. It doesn't lend itself well to like innovation either. The people, I like the people. I found them generally to be pleasant. I've gotten on well with people here. some people don't, but I've noticed that people living in any country there's a tendency to dislike your hosts, as it were, not that they are really, but there's a tendency to dislike the people whose country you're living in. And I think sometimes it's confirmation bias. I think people forget why they left their country and what they left behind, because you're just here all the time. So when people are dicks, you think, oh yeah, they're dicks because these people are dicks, rather than just that this person was a dick. And it's easy to look back with like rose-tinted glasses and forget that a lot of people back home that you didn't like. And I always remind myself of that. Like in England, I always thought there are certain people I really liked and some people I get on so well with. Most people, though, on a day-to-day level, like most people I found, like, I don't know, in workplaces and stuff, I found people pretty difficult to get along with. And a lot of the time, I think if I was a bit like odd or whatever, or not super confident, people just weren't nice at all. I frequently found myself wondering, whether right or wrong, like what's wrong with people, like why are people such dicks? Why are like the bulk of people so unpleasant or confusing or judgmental or whatever? I found myself wondering that a lot. So I always remind myself of that here, like if I ever fall into that mindset of thinking, the people here are this or that, like I think like compared to what? Compared to who? Where's this place I've been to where everybody's great? It doesn't fucking exist, like it really doesn't. By and large, yeah, I don't know. I maybe even prefer the people here. I don't know really. There's not much value in thinking about it anyway in those terms, but yeah, I find it sometimes a bit annoying when people say, like, a lot of expats here and foreigners don't like the Spanish, and I find that a bit tiresome, because I think, well, who are you comparing them to? And a lot of the expats here are not like a great bunch. A lot of people come here because they're alcoholics, basically. A lot of people come here just because they're running away, like they've got kids they never fucking talk to back home, or they're just like, they were just losers, or they're just alcoholics, or they don't want to work. They came here because they thought it would be easy. You see a lot of people who are kind of hiding from reality here, and a lot of them are just bums, basically. And so I think, like, yeah, I don't know, who are we comparing the Spanish to, when we're sort of judging them in this way? I don't know. So, yeah, I like them overall. I find them generally pleasant. They don't love English people on the whole. Like, there have been surveys done and we're consistently ranked as their least favourite people. And I understand why, because they see the worst of us. They see a lot of people who come on holiday to Spain, they come on holiday to Spain because it's relatively cheap, it's sunny, and the alcohol is cheap. So it attracts a certain type of person and a certain type of atmosphere. And they see this, and, like, understandably, I think they become a bit sort of xenophobic about it, basically, because as Trump would say, we're not sending our best and brightest. Yeah, I don't know. I kind of get that. I mean, I think Spanish people you speak to who are a bit more cultured, or they've travelled a bit more, or they're more interested in learning English, or they've studied abroad or whatever, they don't have that attitude. They see it, they acknowledge it, and they tell you it, and they understand it, but they don't have that mindset because they've seen a different side of English people. But people who just live here and are just locals and don't sort of travel much, or they don't, they just sort of live an insular kind of life in their own community. Yeah, they don't love English people. And there's a lot of incidents, that don't. There was an incident not long ago in Valencia where a drunk British guy fell from his balcony because he was hammered, and he landed on a Spanish man and killed him. and things like that just don't help, basically, because, as I said, they don't really drink a lot. So yeah, it's tricky. But I mean, I don't really have that issue. I guess it's I think people probably just think I'm a bit odd. They're not really able to pigeonhole me as one thing or the other anyway, so I don't really fit into any particular category, so I just kind of blend in as a weird bald man as much as it's possible to do, a sort of a strange character rather than a typical Brit, you know. Anything else on the people? Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't have the opportunity to have hugely in-depth conversations with anyone. I think they're probably not super likely to want to be close friends with a British person, for example. It depends on the person, obviously, and it depends how good. But generally speaking, they're quite Spanish, you know. Whereas again, for example, in like London, it's more normal for like a pretty wide variety of people to form a social group. I don't see that as much here. I think that's because it's just less diverse in general, so there's less opportunity to do that. But yeah, I think also like they're quite. You don't see super diverse groups of friends. I don't know how to describe it. You don't really see like black guys hanging out with Spanish people and there's like an Indian girl there and whatever. It's not really, you don't really see that as much. People seem to stick a little bit more in their groups. Yeah, so I don't know. Sometimes you find people seem to regard you a bit as like almost funny. Like they kind of see you as a bit, there's something curious and funny about you, basically, as a foreigner. And so you feel a bit like you're probably not going, unless you're like a hot girl, you're probably not just going to be immediately kind of just accepted as a, you know what I mean, like socially and as a member of society. But for me, that's not a problem. Part of the reason I like being here is because I'm an outsider and I sort of don't, it kind of gives me a protective barrier where I'm sort of like, it's hard for me to get too involved with anything or anyone, and so it suits me because I don't particularly want to, so I can just be a kind of like day-to-day person or whatever and fucking buy my food and say hello or whatever and then go home. So for me it's all right. I would imagine if you moved here thinking you were really going to become a part of life here, you would have to work pretty hard and it would take a while, I think, and you'd have to get pretty good at the language, because one of the reasons there's that slight divide is that the way they speak the language, as I sort of touched on earlier, is so different to how non-natives speak it, and you can learn for years, but they'll have to speak more slowly for you to understand them, and if you're listening to a group of friends conversing, it's very, very, very difficult to keep up. I'm like miles away from that. Like if a group of young people were like talking very fast, I literally would be just, they might as well be speaking like Russian. I just wouldn't understand a word of it. And I think even for people who are at a higher level than I am, it's pretty difficult to socialize without interrupting the flow of conversation. And there are ways you can learn and familiarize yourself with the language more, but it's a bit different. Like in English, you're likely, if you're a foreigner living in England, in London, you're more likely to have a lot of cultural touchstones. Like most of the music you listen to will probably be English language. Depends on what country you're from, but most of it will probably be in English. Most of the movies you've seen will have been in English. And even if you watch them in your own native language, you'll know the references and the ideas, and again, you have like the kind of cultural meeting point. So there's just more, I don't know, yeah. It's like everyone to some degree kind of has some kind of English language influence, or kind of like English or American cultural influence. Whether they've really chosen to have that or not, it's kind of there. So you're sort of trying to penetrate something a bit more insular here, That's the impression I get. But again, I haven't really tried to do so, because I don't, have any need to. Food, music. The worst music I've ever experienced. The worst, just general. And again, I have to remind myself of the kind of music you hear, like back home in England, the music you hear out and about, the music you hear on TV, and the music that most people like in England is awful. Here, that's true as well, but there's also not much beyond that. And the traditional music is horrible, and the music you hear in the street is horrible, and the reggaeton and stuff is everywhere. It's so fucking horrible. The music in shops, the music people listen to, even the English language music that people listen to generally is terrible. That is probably, I would say, if you're talking, food, music, culture, literature, film or whatever, I think music is like the weakest point of this nation. Just mind-blowingly bad. I don't know. Yeah, there doesn't seem to be a strong sense of like musicality. I'm sure a lot of people would sort of vehemently disagree with that and say, oh no, there's this and that, and it's amazing. But I mean, you can cherry pick examples from any country and say, there's good music here or good music there. Sure, and there's some that requires talent and skill and is enjoyable to certain ears, but by and large, the music is awful. The reggaeton is it's everywhere, and it's so fucking horrible. It's so bad. And the traditional music and like flamenco and stuff is just very self-satisfied, and similarly, people who busk and play the guitar and stuff, and people who have bands, it's very like just stops at a certain level. There's like nothing pushing it beyond that. Like they're just kind of like, it seems like they're pleased with themselves and they don't need to do any more or try any harder or be more creative or more pleasant or more interesting. It's I don't think music is much a part of life here at all, really. So that's why I guess I say this having searched for a really long time for music because I wanted to use it to practice. I looked everywhere. I looked on loads of forums. I looked on loads of like aggregation websites. I asked around. I looked on loads of websites where I would normally find music, and I really like gave it a good go. And I found nothing. I found absolutely nothing. I asked people, who I spoke to, just nothing. Absolutely nothing. And the stuff I did find, the sort of better stuff I found was from Latin America, like folk music from there and stuff. Some of it was quite good. Even then, I wasn't super interested in it at all, really. Most of it was boring. So that's, probably my biggest criticism. On the other hand, the visual art and stuff is really cool. Obviously, they have a really storied history of like great visual artists and like very famous around the world. And you can see that reflected everywhere. A lot of murals you see, street art, the design in general. They're really, really good with that stuff. And I think that visual acumen kind of extends to film as well, to cinema, some pretty good movies, TV shows and stuff like that. Just the design in general is cool. So you get a bit of kind of both sides with that. I can't really comment on like literature and shit like that, obviously, because I haven't like, I don't have the language skills to really interpret it. Comedy, again, I guess to some degree I can't really comment on it because I don't have an in-depth understanding of the language, but not the funniest people, not known as particularly funny. stand-up comedy, as it is in many countries actually, is like a kind of relatively obscure thing here, and is a bit like, I think it's kind of maybe beginning a bit, but it's not really a thing. In general, I've not really encountered a lot of funny things or great comedy. Not hugely funny people by and large. I say that, I mean, you know, for example, I don't speak French, right? But I do know that French people are quite funny. Like, you can kind of tell that French people are pretty funny. German people, like, again, maybe you can see sometimes when you speak to them, even if you don't speak the same language, they're perhaps not the funniest people. Like French people, even if they don't have a very good grasp of English, they'll quite often make you laugh, you know, like speaking English. You can just kind of tell they have quite a good and like clever sense of humour. I don't see that here at all. And others have said the same. Not hugely funny. I'm going through all the bad things in a row. I guess I've written all those at the same time. Dog ownership. So a lot of people here have dogs. I think again, a bit like with snacks, I kind of come from a place where dog ownership is probably at its best. I think England probably has the best dog owners in the world, like the highest standard of dog welfare, and dog owners are very dog centric. Like the dog kind of comes first, and the dog's emotional needs, and where possible its kind of independence are prioritized, and people have quite an in-depth understanding of how dogs feel and what is wrong or right to do to a dog. And the dog is like a family member and a friend. Not always, of course, but typically the dog is like a friend and a family member. The dogs here seem to be objects a lot of the time. You see this, for example, reflected in the kind of like brazen use of fireworks, but also tail docking was recently outlawed. Still happens all the time. Half the dogs maybe don't have tails. Bizarre. Just absolutely bizarre. We just couldn't believe it when we got here. Like, we don't see that back home. Once in a while you see a dog who's had the ears done, and you know, like at home in England, I mean, and its tail is missing, and you just think it's fucking horrible. Totally normal here. They don't like the way the tails look. Yeah, I don't know. I don't really have words for it. It's disgusting. I guess some people think the tail is a nuisance on bigger dogs. I don't understand the reasoning for it. It's clearly a very important part of the dog's body. It serves a purpose. That's why it's there. It's putting aside the fact they use it for balance and things like that. It's a form of expression. It's how they express themselves, not only to you, their owner, like how they tell you that they're happy or excited, but it's also how they express themselves to other dogs. It's so important when they're socializing. If a dog sees that their tail is between their legs, they can read, there's a social signal being made there. If they see the tail is wagging, they see that the dog's happy and excited to play with them. It's just completely, it's a completely normal part of a dog. And beyond that, even if you look at it selfishly, I just think it's beautiful, like that they have waggy tails. It's one of the things that you love the most about a dog. It's one of the things that endears dogs to people. It runs towards you and its tail is wagging. It's happy to see you. It's so cute. That's how a dog smiles. I cannot fathom wanting to take that away from them. I'm just, it blows my mind. So yeah, it was made illegal, thankfully, but you see it everywhere, and a lot of people here are into very small dogs that you can carry around in a bag, dogs that you kind of pick up and that don't have much autonomy. they're very silly. They're sort of like, they're very into silly looking, ridiculous kind of little gremlin dogs. A lot of French bulldogs. They find them funny and silly. I don't doubt that these people generally like love their dogs as well, but there's something a bit. It's just they objectify them quite heavily, and I'm not saying a dog should come first in the household. Like, makes sense that humans come first, but it feels like even in the relationship with the dog is like secondary in every regard. I don't know how to explain it, and if it's not, it's put on a kind of strange pedestal that seems like even further kind of objectification. I don't know how to describe it. But yeah, I guess the only way I can describe it is, as I said, I've always felt like the dog is more like a friend and a family member, and I tend to find it a bit unusual when I see that here. It's probably half and half, but like sometimes you see a dog with its tail and you see the owner engaging with it in a certain way and it seems weird almost. You're like, oh yeah, people are like that here as well sometimes. So that's a real shame to me. You do see a beautiful variety of dogs, but once in a while you see a stunning dog. It'll be like a really, really, you won't know what breed it is. It's like a really beautiful looking dog. And it just has this weird scar where its tail was. And it looks so wrong because it's just like a box, there's no tail. It just, it's fucking, I could talk about it all day and just go in circles because I can't understand it. I can't understand it at all. And you see that in England. I mean, a lot of people have pugs and French bulldogs and shit that can't breathe and they walk around all day like with like apnea, and their owners think it's adorable. And I really find that, just tasteless, but yeah, I don't know. Yeah, the dog thing. Pharmacies are bizarrely important here. There's like pharmacies everywhere. You can't buy anything pharmaceutical outside of a pharmacy. Like, I'm used to being able to buy like paracetamol and ibuprofen and stuff and plasters and certain things, even like I don't know, like toothbrush heads and stuff. You can just buy them at other shops. You can buy them in corner shops or supermarkets. Here, there's pharmacies everywhere, and it's pretty useful in a way because you just go exactly there. You go to a specialist shop and you get it. Like, there's pharmacies, tobacco shops, supermarkets. Those are very separate things, and all three are completely ubiquitous. Like, and you have to go to the individual shop, and it's kind of nice in a way because you go to I don't know. It's quite nice, you go to the pharmacy, you go to the fucking tobacco shop or whatever, you go to a specific place for a specific thing. But yeah, it's fucking pharmacies everywhere, man. Like, you see a pharmacy, 10 doors down there's another pharmacy. They're always at the fucking pharmacy. Weird. And the other thing that's everywhere is these Chinese shops that sell basically everything. Like, Instead of having, you don't see a lot of stuff like Poundland, for example, those kind of shops. Basically, everything you need that's like, household goods. You need like plates and cups. You need bin bags. You need pens. You need like sandpaper or a cheap pair of gloves or stationery or tools. You need like screwdrivers and shit. You go to a Chinese shop, pretty much any time of day they're open. They have everything. Like, even if it's a small shop, if you ask for a specific thing, they'll just always have it. They have literally like everything. And they're amazing. And they have them everywhere. Whether you're in a small town or whatever, there's always one. And they're kind of like, they're all the same but slightly different, Like, they have a specific type of name. It'll be called like Grand Bazaar or like China Bazaar. They're always called Bazaar, or Bazaar Asia or something. And it's like they're as ubiquitous as like the pharmacies and the tobacco shops. And the tobacco shops are like they have a specific branding and they look a certain way. It's kind of the same with the Chinese shops. It's like it's not a chain, but it's like a chain, if you know what I mean. It's as though they're a chain, but some of them are different. Like when I was staying in a different town, when I was in this place Alcoy, to avoid Fiestas, that festival, they had a Chinese shop there, and it was the maddest place I've ever been to in my life. Like, all the items, they look like they come from like the 1980s, and it was like, normally you go in, it's all useful, it's all functional, it's all the stuff you want and need. This place, it was like, it'd be like, oh, a pair of orange, like, tiny shorts for a baby, and then loads of weird shawls and like dangly plastic jewelry, and then like these really weird like things from like the 1980s, and like these like sequins, and then there's shit all over the floor, and like shells and stuff, and like everything was just weird. I don't know how to describe it. As soon as I went in, I was like, this place is fucking schizo, like everything in here is weird. Immediately I was like, this is just so weird. And the layout was crazy. You had to walk all around it. And then the lady who worked there, she's a big fat lady, and I thought she was on the phone. I thought she was on a Bluetooth headset, because she was like nattering away. So I'm going around doing my shopping, and I couldn't find everything I found was like just wrong. It was like the wrong shape or the wrong size. It was all bizarre. No pun intended. And it was just, you pick up items and you just be like, oh, I guess these are socks, you know, like I guess I'll take these. And a weird amount of like, I don't know how to describe it, just insane, like one shelf was just covered in these insane toys and stuff, and like nothing was normal. And then I went over thinking I was interrupting her phone call, and she looked up and she was just like, she wasn't on the phone at all. She'd just been talking to herself, and then I paid, and she had a very like deranged energy, and then I left and she just carried on talking to herself. And so they still have the Chinese shop there. They have them everywhere, but the sort of colour and flavour of this one was just like psychotic, but it was still there. And so you get like different ones, you know, sometimes the people are kind of dicks, sometimes they're really nice and helpful, and you sort of become friendly with them, and but basically they're everywhere. And those are really good. They're kind of essential. I don't know what they did before those existed. They're really, really useful, and it's an example of like something you can't really like, because they're open during the siesta and shit. So it's very useful. So yeah, that's all really. It's been an extremely long video, longer than I realised it would be. And I didn't want to end it on complaints. That's just kind of how my notes came out. Because, well, by and large, I really like it here, and also it feels kind of hypocritical in a way for me to complain about some places kind of losing their identity, and then to live somewhere and complain. But it's a bit, I don't know. I think that's taking an overly literal viewpoint on it, because you naturally form opinions on a place when you live there. You can't just move somewhere and literally just like, hey, everything's great, you know, all the time. You just will inevitably like and dislike certain things. By and large, I really like it, and I hope it retains its Spanishness. Yeah, I hope it just retains what's great about it, basically. And I mean, it's also hypocritical in a sense, because I live here. I'm English, but I don't really like it when other English people are here that much. Like because I was here during COVID, there weren't a lot of tourists, and then when there were again, and there was a lot of English people around, I don't know, I hear people speaking English in the street. I hear like English accents, and it depends. I guess it depends on what kind of person it was. You know, sometimes I'd think, oh yeah, great, yeah, I want to speak to them. Not that I would. And then other times I would think, like, I just think like, go away, you know, don't want more English people here. When they announced that they were going to start allowing tourists again, we were a bit like disappointed. I don't know why, especially because we were near the beach, and we thought, oh, the whole beach is going to be full of tourists and whatever. And maybe that's just me being a dick. I don't know. But I yeah, overall, I really like living here. The only, most of my criticisms of it are very petty things, they're very like minor things that don't really matter. The only real criticism I have of the place is how the economy is structured. I think that's just terrible. Overall, by and large, I think it's pretty good. Oh, the plugs as well. Yeah, the plugs. Well, you have two-pronged plugs here, right? Which are everywhere in the world, I guess. In America as well, you have the two-pronged plugs. In England, we have not this way around. They're like, I can't really do it this way. Three-pronged, which is very sturdy. That's like the root of your teeth. It's like free. And free roots. And the same, if you have a golf tee that just has two of these, they fall out very easily. If you have one with three, they stick in the ground a lot more easily. A plug here, or in the States, I presume, you can just pull it out the wall like that, which is not very good. If you stand on it, it just rips right out. The ones in England, the cables are much thicker. And if you stand on it, it doesn't come out. And if you pull on it, it doesn't come out because the wire faces downwards anyway, and if you do, you're trying to pull three things out of there, they're just not going to come out. So you have to actually remove the plug, and they're a lot sturdier and they last a lot longer. But you can stand on them as well. That's the downside of our plugs in England, is you can stand on them very easily. So I still can't decide which is better, because it's horrible to stand on plugs, but I do prefer the sturdy plugs we have at home. In general, the Handiwork here is not great. Like, for example, I'll show you. If I want to close this, like, I have to, and I'm quite strong, and it's still really difficult. And these windows here, when it was raining, water was just pouring in, obscene amounts of water, and it's tiled floor, so it's going everywhere. It's a real electrical hazard, and stuff is just not well set up. The plumbing is mental. The plumbing is absolutely mental. I mean, I did a video about that whole plumbing situation before, and there's not a lot of electrical outlets, and modern stuff is very shoddily built most of the time, and the handymen who maintain apartments, so stuff like that as well. Yeah, you do notice. But yeah, to sum up and to finish on a more positive note, cool people, cool language, great weather, great scenery, great produce, food quality, really nice culture, nice familial culture, not too much alcohol, quite healthy lifestyle, quite a close-knit society, and consult my list again. Those things really. Good. So yeah, that's all really. I hope to kind of learn the language a bit more, and live in a couple of different places around the country. I don't think I'll spend my whole life here or anything, but I think I'll probably live in the north for a few years, where it's a bit colder, and check out what it's like up there. I think it's even more insular up there, to be honest. They're not hugely keen on sort of outsiders, but again, I don't really. Yeah, I just sort of keep to myself, so it's cool. That's all. Anyway, cool. All right, thanks for watching, guys. If you made it this far.